I think the future is potentially bright for our party. We're already seeing, as you outlined, that rather than focusing on creating jobs, the Republicans are looking at how they can cut taxes for the wealthiest people in this country, cut taxes for corporations. I don't think that's the bargain that the voters counted on. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is I remember back in 2005, after John Kerry lost his bid for president, and less than 2 years later, Democrats took back both houses of Congress. I also remember in 2009, just after President Obama had won, people said the Republican Party was dead, and less than 2 years later, they had the biggest pickups in 70 years. So we've had swing elections for the last 10 years. I don't see any reason why the Democrats can't fare well in the midterms.
Let me tell you perhaps why. It's that the traditional coalition of liberals on the coasts and Rust Belt blue-collar workers, who are the backbone of the Democrat base, that coalition has fallen apart because they don't agree on anything, those two groups of people. And one lot of them are kind of more inclined to vote for populist nationalism, as you're seeing in lots of countries. It's very difficult for centre-left parties to hold that coalition together, and it's true in the US, isn't it?
I think that's a bit of an exaggeration for a few reasons. First of all, the number of votes, when you add up that Trump won Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin by, is just about 70,000 votes. It was a very small margin. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. These congressional elections in the House happen across the country. And furthermore, I guess I disagree with the premise that people can't agree on anything. I don't think that's true at all, actually. I think this was a change election. There were gale force winds coming at Hillary Clinton, not just because people were looking for change generally, but also because of what Vladimir Putin did, what the FBI did, the way there were these unprecedented interventions in the elections. I think Americans agree that we need to be focused on jobs. And we look at what's the first thing that Donald Trump does in this election. He's holding people up at airports. It's a poor policy. Most people don't support it. And I think he will be held accountable for not focusing on what he promised, which is creating jobs and raising wages. I think Democrats are actually in a fantastic position to really hold him accountable.
I mean, you're focusing quite a bit of your comments on what Trump is doing wrong, and I can see that's a big hope of how the Democrats will rebuild. Just looking back on the campaign, though, I mean, the gales did blow, didn't they? And so there was a lot against Hillary. Is there anything as the guy running the campaign that you would say you would do significantly differently that might have, if you like, won the election?
Well, you know, it's hard to say. It's such a small margin that, you know, as we discussed, that really anything would make a difference. You know, of course, we wish that we had had more resources in Michigan and Wisconsin. You know, we had probably 4 times as many staff in Michigan as President Obama did. So we had increased it quite a bit. But we absolutely could and should have done more with that. You know, I think I would have thought a lot longer and harder about how we could break through with our message. A great analysis was done by Vox that looked at what the candidates were actually saying out on the stump. Hillary Clinton was talking about jobs and the economy a lot more than Donald Trump. But because of some of those headwinds we were facing, that wasn't really reaching the voters. And so I wish that they'd had more of a chance to really understand what Hillary was really running for, not the Republican opposition dump that was happening on the Hill through the farcical hearings that were held, or through WikiLeaks and Vladimir Putin.
Do you think a fresher-faced Democrat candidate, because it basically felt like a change election, and you had someone up who was 25 years in the public eye, do you think a fresher-faced candidate could have perhaps done it more successfully?
Look, I don't think we've ever had a more qualified candidate, a grittier candidate than Hillary Clinton. She would have been a pretty big change, actually. She would have been the first woman president in our history. But obviously, we need to focus on the future now. And I think you're going to see a lot of new faces come into our party. I'm talking to a lot of young people who are planning to run for the first time, whether it be for Congress or for local office. I think you're going to see a lot of people choose to run for president in 4 years that you and I wouldn't even necessarily think about right now. I think we have a lot of opportunity, and I've been encouraging people in our party, to look forward, to remember that we actually won a majority of votes, that the margin was so close in those states and the headwinds were so unprecedented. When we have a more favorable environment, when Donald Trump has to answer for his actions, our prospects are going to be a lot brighter, and I think we're going to have a lot of really good talent to carry us over.
Just give us a bit of advice in this country, if you would. We've been debating, or there have been a lot of controversy over inviting President Trump over and giving him red carpet treatment and the royal carriage. Do you think we should give him the royal carriage ride down the Mall, or do you think we should kind of hold our noses and say we don't want to do business with you?
Well, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it to the British people to decide what kind of welcome they want to give. That's not my place. Look. I think our two countries have a really important relationship, and I don't want Donald Trump or any other president to damage that relationship. So I'm glad that our countries are going to continue to maintain close ties and to work together. I think people around the world need to speak up and listen to their conscience at the rhetoric that's happening, whether it's from Donald Trump or any other politician around the world that's trying to divide people and trying to pretend to focus on helping families when really they're helping a very limited segment of the population. Again, I have not seen what Donald Trump is doing to deliver for some of those families that are really hurting, that put a lot of faith in him, and that's where we have to keep our focus. So I hope people here in Britain will speak out if he comes. We'll continue to speak out in the U.S., and I really do believe the world is going to work through this, and our best days are still ahead.
Robby Mook, thanks very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.